let me tell the fine folks what we're doing. This week in Self-Indulgent Theater, I've requested Joe do his John Oliver verse. You know, it's been a long time, so finally I get to hear some John Oliver from Joe. And Joe was binge watching Cheers, but he fell off the bandwagon. So, in an effort to get, to right those two wrongs, I figured I'd ask him as nicely as I could if he would please find it in his heart to do John Oliver doing the theme from Cheers.
All right, so I here we go.
Here we go.
All right, this is just right off.
All you. I'm
right
just
off the old bean. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights where you've got no lights and the check is in the mail. And your little angel hung the cat up by its tail. You know what you did, cat. And the third fiance didn't show. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. Finally tonight, you want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. They all know your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to go where people know people are all the same. You want to go where everybody supposedly knows your name. Finally tonight, alcoholism. Hilarious.
Oh, that's one of your top 3 impressions. I'm going to make you do more John Oliver.
I guess I only have 3 impressions then.
Hey, Biff, what do vegetarian zombies eat? See, he's pretending that he's talking, and even though we just did the mic check, you're not getting out of it. All right. Grains.
Well, hot dog, we have a wiener.
Man, that thing's great. Don't praise the machine.
Worth the wait. Nice try, by the way, Biff. All right. Hey, Biff, why do cow milking stools only have 3 legs? The cow's got the udder. I'm going to post this clip and dub in the most racist voice coming out of you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Carnival Personnel. This is Jacques.
And I'm Joe. Can you not hear Biff?
Oh, you, sir, are a delight. I don't sanction this buffoonery. Oh, so yeah, it is just me and Joe, which is great because I think we're going to do a deep dive into a couple weekends ago when Joe came over and we watched the Eddie Murphy documentary.
Yes. that was quite entertaining. I liked it. It didn't go into everything. Of course, it being produced by Eddie Murphy kind of helped keep some of the more lurid things of his past off camera. But I enjoyed the walk down memory lane. I don't know if I learned really much of anything about.
Did you know about his love for puppeteering?
Okay, maybe that. Yeah. Okay, maybe that. Maybe you're right. Touche.
Yeah, it turned out that was his first foray into the entertainment world, was wanting to be a puppeteer. And his mom had got him, I think it was 6 or 7 years old, got him a really, by all accounts, a very scary, but yeah, maybe we're ruining it a little by well, why don't you tell the fine folks about the puppets that became part of the special?
They had at the end some custom made puppets that were kind of tailor made to some celebrity voices that Eddie Murphy likes to do. One you can do nowadays, and one I guess you can't unless you're Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, yes, thank you. He could do it.
Yeah.
He could do it.
Yeah. I'm talking, of course, about Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby. I think there's also an Eddie Murphy. There was an Eddie Murphy one in there as well, right?
I don't remember. I think
Okay.
that was actually Eddie Murphy you were thinking of.
But yeah, I thought it was it was too bad because it was only like towards the end and it was only like maybe 4 minutes of material. But I could watch a whole special if that was just just him up there with ventriloquist dummies.
I don't think I'm going to die happy unless Eddie Murphy does a special with those two puppets that they had made for it. It was fun, and after we watched the documentary, I who love Eddie Murphy. You haven't seen every one of Eddie Murphy's movies. There were some that really didn't have to be watched, but the plurality of what that guy has put out has been absolutely amazing. But I did not watch the movie, in large part, as Joe will tell you, because I'm a racist. My name is, or call me Dolemite. So
Dolemite is my name.
Dolemite is my name. See what a racist is? I can't even get. I bet. Ask me any Marvel movie, I won't fuck that up, will I?
Chadwick Boseman.
But we watched. My name is Dolomite, or call me Dol. See, I can't.
Dolemite is my name.
Dolomite is my name. Dolemite is my name.
And fucking up motherfuckers is my game.
Now I will remember. Yes. Wow, what a fucking great movie.
It was a return to form. It came out on Netflix. When was it? 2021, 22, something like that. Maybe it was 19. I forget. But it was written by Scott and Larry, the same guys who wrote a lot of biopics, including Ed Wood. And it was just, I forget who directed it, but it was really well done. It captured the essence of this guy, this comedian, who was off my radar because I'm a white boy from the 80s, Rudy Ray Jones. I'm sorry. Whoops. Rudy Ray Moore. See, I'm already forgetting. And he was an underground, like, dirty comic, a la kind of Red Fox, but Red Fox was the big breakout, and he was like, decades before Rudy Ray Moore. But Rudy Ray Moore made a lot of, like, self-published a lot of party records for the black audience, and it was a lot of very dirty material. And then something in him made him want to make a movie, kind of off of this character that he created on stage named Dolemite. And so no studio would fund the movie or whatever, so he decided to just crowdsource the funding. I forget how the funding. Yeah, I think they kind of cobbled together a lot of volunteers, and maybe some college-aged students to produce his film and you know, act as like the crew for his movie. And I'm sure no permits were pulled. I'm sure, but it was, you know, they made 5 movies based off of this character, or Rudy Ray Moore starred in 5 of these kind of self-produced movies, and they were a hit among like the black audience. You know, like it played in a lot of houses across the country, but not like big blockbuster type places. And thanks to home video, now we all get to enjoy Dolemite, and the way that they recreated the scenes in Dolemite Is My Name. Perfect for Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy, you know, he had been, you know, doing Shrek. He had a couple of other family type movies, and he kind of had fallen off of the radar as far as like big blockbuster stuff. Like he did Dreamgirls a way back, and you know, that was like his Oscar push, and he was really good in that. But not since then have we seen Eddie Murphy be Eddie Murphy until Dolemite Is My Name, and then that's when like the resurgence of Eddie Murphy came. Like he went back to Saturday Night Live. He did, maybe he went back to SNL before Dolemite, but in any case, you know, he did Coming to America 2, which was okay. Beverly Hills Cop 4, which I enjoyed. You know, and a couple of other movies that, you know, now because of streaming, there's a place for that niche comedy. I don't want to say niche comedy, but like comedy movies are hard to make for the big screen, you know, because they're not huge money makers. So, you know, thankfully there's a place for his comedy and those types of movies on streaming. And, you know, and we got to, you know, catch up with not only Dolemite Is My Name, but also the movies in which that inspired Dolemite Is My Name.
Which, when we watched one of the Dolemite movies, we watched the second one, The Hurricane, right? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
It was how accurately Eddie Murphy's movie portrayed that one. It was truly amazing. It was really, and I don't know how soon Joe and I are going to be able to get together, watch the entire Dolemite, like, you know, catalog, but I think that's something that we're going to have to do. It was so good. And
The Human Tornado.
The Human Tornado. And that was the second one, right? In the
Yes.
the Dolemite oeuvre of movies.
Yes, it was the sequel to or follow up to Dolemite, and then following that is a movie called Petey Wheatstraw, which I don't think is a Dolemite movie. But then there's also Disco Godfather, and one other. Where is it? Yeah, it is another Dolemite type movie. But yeah, there's 5 probably must sees now that we've seen Dolemite Is My Name.
Yeah, there's a scene like they're trying to be serious and make a real movie, but then they would go farcical, slapstick, prop comedy, and it makes me question my atheism, because there must be a God if something this awesome could have been produced in the 70s under the, you know, the blaxploitation, like, you know, era of filmmaking that it was. The Eddie Murphy movie, the Eddie Murphy documentary is great. His Dolemite movie was great, but then like The Human Tornado, it was a really fun get together. Let's just put it like that.
And now we'll never think of the movie Driving Miss Daisy the same way again.
Oh, that's one of those moments where Joe threw something out that it physically hurt how funny it was, and his exquisite timing. Yes, but it, you know, I mean, the only thing nearly as funny, but wasn't close to as funny, is the week before. It's probably the last show Joe's going to have to be dragged to until the fall with me. I got to do a show with Tony V a couple weeks ago. You know, since Joe and I have last chatted on this, which is always great. That was the Lowell's seventh annual, the Shitty of Lowell's seventh annual Town and Country Festival, which is 98% music. But the festival ended with a stand-up comedy show featuring the legendary Tony V, and Joe came for that one, and it was fun. An odd kind of venue to try to have a show, but it was fine. A decent crowd. Here was the highlight for the evening for me. The person who put the show together, a friend of mine, Kristin O'Brien, ends up bumping herself off because Jim McHugh, who had, he got back from a ship thing a couple days early. Tony's one of his best friends. He's like, yeah, I'm going to come down. And Kristin's like, oh, you have to go up. So it became a double headliner show. The funniest thing is the audio guy, who is a regular working audio guy for bands, hasn't done comedy shows. Like, I'm glad I got there early because the way he had set it up is perfect if it was singer-songwriter night, but not for stand-up comedy. He basically taped the mic cord to the stand, so it wouldn't be dangling in the way while you're...
Perfect for Joan Baez, not so much for Jacques Lambert.
I was going to say Bo Burnham, but I think he's a piano guy, not a guitar guy. So anyways... but he was losing his shit because Jim wasn't on the lineup. And for some reason, something in his head told him this is going to ruin the festival, that he has to call the festival organizers to make sure this is okay, that the club, which was a restaurant bar, might be upset that people are staying longer for this show and ordering more food and drink. Like, honestly, I've never seen a guy whose first love is weed be that stressed out and have that much anxiety while that high, because he honestly was freaking out. And I tried to explain to him, it's like, okay, you're a music guy. And if this was a music night and Paul McCartney walked in, you wouldn't tell Sir Paul McCartney he can't go on. And Jim McHugh is not Paul McCartney in comedy, but he certainly is Paul McCartney in comedy in the New England area. He's a big regular headliner, so of course he's going to go up. He's only going to make the show better. But the highlight for me, and I don't know for Joe, but an hour after the show outside talking with Tony.
Yeah, and Jim, and special guest appearance, Greg Bogus.
Right, Mr. Pour one out for the Luna Theater, Mondo Comedy.
Mondo Comedy. Yeah.
Our friend James Hamilton hung out, and Kristin O'Brien, who organized the show. And that's one of the best parts of comedy, is just sitting there, talking, or more listening to those two legends, go back and forth.
Mm-hmm. I probably should have brought a jacket. That was a little nippy out that night.
It truly was, but at least the wind of Tony's cigar was downstream. But but it always is, and it is. It's one of those. I just recorded a podcast that will drop next week. Oh, by the way, I usually start off the podcast by thanking the previous podcast guests. Over the last month, I've had a couple podcast guests that have been amazing. Joni Grassi, longtime Vegas comic who I've got to meet recently. Just more stories than I can possibly squeeze in a lifetime. She is awesome. She is a really great comic. She was a fantastic guest, a fantastic person, but that was a really fun podcast. And then last week's podcast, Allison Dyan, who I met at the South Shore comedy class that Katrobis has in Quincy at the Fox and Hound at Sweeney's Room a while ago. She was going to do the podcast a while ago, but she's like, hey, I'm trying to put something together, and when that comes together, I love to do the podcast. And that's why she was on, because she has this fall her comedy contest that is in Palm Springs, California. She was a great guest. She's a really fun comic. I've posted a couple clips over the last week of her stuff. Yes, I was remiss into saying that Joni Grassi 2 episodes ago was amazing, and that Allison Dyan last week was awesome. And next week's guest, Ray Brain, a South Shore comedian who produces shows in the great Hanson, Weymouth area of the great state of Massachusetts. So anyways, So it was that was a really fun night, Joe, and I'm glad you you got to meet Tony V.
Yeah, I always wanted to. I
Uh,
yeah,
but
and it was his birthday.
right, actual birthday, not the day before, the day after, that actual day. Yep.
And
Yeah,
we had pie, and it was great.
Tony's a pie, not cake guy, and I love the fact that his reputation for dumpsters and pies is so well known. But yeah, it is always stupid fun when we get to truly be in the present. But sometimes I just can't get Tony V out of my fucking life, and let me tell you how. A few weeks ago, I heard of this podcast. WGBH is the public broadcasting radio station and TV station here in Massachusetts.
For now.
They produced an 8-part series going way back to the 40s of the history of the Big Dig in Boston, which I still believe is the biggest public works project in the United States history. And it took place in the 90s and early 2000s, where they took the highway system that went through Boston, the elevated highway system through Boston, and put it underground.
I used to work in an office right by the artery there, like right by where 93 would go, like from South Station to North Station.
Right.
That whole thing. So I was watching it, kind of unfold
in real time. I mean, Boston had a Chicago-esque elevated train. The subway, the Green Line, was above ground for most of it. I mean, it's really fun. You see these archival footages where you would basically take the Green Line from the Quincy area into Boston, and you are 4 stories over ground level as you would turn left in front of the old Boston Garden on your way to Fenway, because the Green Line goes right to Fenway, and that was an elevated train system. Anyways, this 8-part series goes way into, hey, when the highway system started, this is what it started. And of course, we got to learn a little bit more how racist pieces of shit our country was, because the highways, when they had to decide, well, we can go this way or this way. Well,
which neighborhoods did they decide to demolish?
Right, exactly. And not only were they black neighborhoods, it's like, well, this is a really prominent black neighborhood with shops, generational shops, very nice houses. And over here is a bunch of trailer trash trailers, but they're white. So we're going to keep the trailer park the way it is and take down this black neighborhood. But so I'm listening, in like episode 3 or 4, they're talking about these city council hearings in the 80s and stuff like that. And it's like, and here's local comedian Tony V. And all of a sudden, unexpected, I'm listening to Tony V on this WGH podcast talk about the Big Dig, and what it was like living there. It was the most unexpected voice to come through my radio at that time.
Interesting.
But it was really funny. But circling back, yeah, it was great. I mean, Jim popped in.
How did he even remember the 80s? Like, what's he
dude? Joe, you have never said anything, more astute than that. But it was. And again, Jimmy Q becomes a double headliner show. They have such history. They're really great friends, and them telling stories about these festivals they've been to together, and all of that fun.
It was a good time. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to coax me out of the house. I don't get out very often. I probably won't go out again for quite some time. So, you caught me at a rare moment, and it was and for the most part, it was a nice day. So it was like, that was like I mean, not to sidebar, we're going to get into the 90s, like in temperature wise in Massachusetts this week. Again, it's just like winter, rain, summer. There's no spring. There's none of that. So well,
Jim Gaffigan has a really great routine. He goes,
"There's spring. People love spring. That's a fun day. What a lie spring is, right? I always spend the entire spring waiting for it to be spring, right? You're like, is it spring? No, it's snowing. Next day, you're like, is it spring? No, it's 90 degrees. I guess we missed those tiny white flowers.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, that's basically what happened here. So, but yeah, what that day was also a nice day. So thanks for dragging me out. Sorry I couldn't make your most recent outing. I just didn't want to go. And I didn't want to go completely alone.
Well, it's a bummer because Joe was seriously missed. So I maybe in 2 weeks from now, maybe in 3 weeks from now, I'm going to start driving to LA for the summer. And I'll be gone 5 or 6 weeks. It's the plan. We'll see. We'll see. But that's the plan right now. And I wanted Joe to come because it probably was my last show before I go, because I didn't take shows late in March or in June, knowing that I knew I was leaving at some time. And I can get on a couple shows if I stick around. That's no big deal. But I didn't want to, if I'm hosting a show and I'm bringing gear, that's kind of a bigger thing to back out of. But anyways, the show became an impromptu Wilmington, Massachusetts, Carter Lane reunion because my sister was there. She lived on Carter Lane with me, but our best friends growing up, who Joe knows one of them really well, Sully, and then the neighbor on the other side, Mike, and their managers were there. So, my management went, but yeah, that neighborhood growing up, it was just great to see them. I mean, I text with them all the time. We were really great friends, but it was great that they were there. They all know Joe. They all love Joe. So it was a bummer you weren't there, but it was a fun show too. I posted a clip. I wrote a routine last week that Joe helped punch up, and it wasn't really ready for prime time, but something happened in the show where I'm like, you know what? It's good enough time to roll the dice on the Roses bit. I need to tweak it a little bit. I fumbled a couple parts. I forgot, my favorite, most cheesy, hackiest line in the world. You buy roses for your wife or your girlfriend, or both. It's so stupid. But it was a really fun night. You were missed, and but now let's jump ahead into gaming, because we haven't chatted really since I've gone back into Resident Evil 9. I did another playthrough. I definitely put it in the top 2 to 3 of all the Resident Evil 9s. I definitely put it in the top.
All the Resident Evils, yes,
yeah,
right.
Yes,
not just the 9s.
Of all the Resident Evil 9s, I'd say this is probably the second best Resident Evil 9.
It's the 90th of them all.
There's been. It does the scare factor is pretty high. You got your action stuff. It's kind of 3 games in one, because it toggles between 2 storylines that tangle together, but you also go back in their history, which kind of make it almost like 4 different storylines that kind of become intertwined. And the Leon is more shoot 'em up action, and the other one is more, holy shit, I know if I go down this hall, I'm going to shit myself.
Right.
The music is great in it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think it's going to be one that I'm going to play over and over and over, because the other ones I played over and over are games where you can keep your weapons and you can keep your upgrades, and then if you get a certain achievement, you have unlimited rocket launcher, and then you can play through the game where you just blow everything up with a rocket launcher, and it shouldn't be that much fun, but it is. But it is. I know we jump in a little bit in the video game talk, but it was pretty great. I haven't played games in a while. Biff was giving me a hard time about being an adult playing a video game, yet each NHL game he watches is a 4-hour investment of time.
Passively.
And right. And I think, he will watch 961 games a year.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Time well spent.
everybody's nerdum is different. But I don't think I'm going to be playing, games other than ones on my phone this summer as I drive across the country, because I'm going to stay with our friend Woody. I'm not going to be bringing a game system with me. The idea is to go there and work every day.
Yeah. PS5's heavy too. I haven't played, shocker, you have played more video games this month than I have. I have not turned on my Xbox or Steam Deck or even my emulators for weeks.
And nobody from Steam has come to do a wellness check on you.
I'm waiting for Shigeru Miyamoto himself from Nintendo to show up.
I came so close to mimicking knocking on the door and calling your name out in a very racist accent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how
I applaud you for your restraint.
Old habits are hard to break.
But yet you still felt compelled to tell me about your racist thoughts. So
yeah.
There's still some work to do.
Oh, it's university, racist,
But I've become more passive in my free time. Like although there is a game coming out that I might pick up. I don't know. It's a game called Forza Horizon 6. It's I played part 5 years ago on the Xbox when I had Game Pass. It was very cool because you could build your own customizable cars or whatever, but it was also open world, and it had like a lot of challenges. Like you could enter in races, but then you could also like try to find hidden things with your car, and just cool stuff. Like you can drive through shortcuts through the woods. It was very arcadey, very loose and fun. And actually my car in Forza Horizon 5, I downloaded from there. Like if you make cars on that site or on that game, you can upload it to a server and then share it with other people. And somebody had shared their version of the Batmobile.
That's so great.
Which was like a Lamborghini, basically. They just took like a Lamborghini and then like stylized it and it made it look like the Batmobile-ish. So I used that as my go-to car because it was really fast and it handled well. And it was just, it was a fun game. But Forza Horizon 6 it takes place in Japan. So there's a lot of Japanese countryside and stuff like that. That stuff's like interesting. Like I could see myself getting lost in that. I'm not going to get GTA 6 for, I don't know when that's coming out. I think it's coming out next year. I don't know. But, I haven't really used any of my games. Like it's just sitting around. And now I'm talk about like really having an introspective moment and a turning point in my life going, all this money spent, all this time spent on this video game stuff. Yeah, it was fun at the time, but now I'm like, I'm left with a lot of cargo. Like I gotta unload, especially if we don't stay in this place much longer. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself.
No. But sticking on this for a second, it's like yes, it's not a maturity thing as much as things change in your life, and especially if you're moving, like physical media, which I'm now starting to rethink physical media because should I have kept all the stuff that we got rid of when we moved to the Middle East and we shipped things back here, and there was so much stuff. I'm like, I digitized all these movies on this platform, so I'll have my movies forever. I'm going to get rid of it. And now you find out, no, you don't own those movies. And that platform doesn't exist anymore that you loaded up all your movies on or all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I do go back and forth, what I wish I would have kept. But yes, my collection was not nearly what yours is, and if you move again because you don't need to live where you do, packing all that up is just daunting.
Yeah. And then again, it's if we move to someplace more permanent, hopefully, then, that the next move might be the last move for a long time. But regardless, it's just like stuff that I haven't used or touched. I feel like it's a reminder of like that money could have gone towards other things, which yes, all the adults out there listening, I get it.
No!
I should have invested that in a stock or a money market.
Oh, really?
Something.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to play this game. You're wrong, Joe. And honestly, like
what about the games I haven't played yet that I purchased? So there are games that I've bought that I haven't played. Now that's stupid.
No. How did you feel when you bought those games?
How did I feel when I snorted that cocaine? I felt great.
Exactly. No, exactly. But
when like somebody who does like a lot of shopping, it's the adrenaline rush. It's that dopamine kick. You know what I mean? It's the purchasing power. Like, I have the money. I won't be homeless if I buy this,
okay.
and I'll have this thing.
So I'm not picking on our friend Biff because he's not here to defend himself. Plus, if I pick on Biff, he'll verbally beat me up because he's so much smarter than me. But Biff, when he travels, tries to take in local sporting events. So he used to travel a lot for work. And, when his son got older, instead of flying home on a Friday and turning around and coming back Sunday night or Monday morning, he'd be like, well, I'm here in DC and the Flyers are playing 2 hours away on Saturday. And I've not, I can drive there. I can see this rink. So the time and money he had, just the time expense, the 2 hours to get to that game, the 4 hours of the game, and the 2 hours back to the hotel, and all that 9 hour window to see a game, and the $100 for the ticket and all that stuff. Was that wasted, or did he have a really great time and he has the fun of having to been there and the experience of having seen that?
Oh yeah, I don't begrudge people.
But you still have that game.
Yeah,
it is still there. It's not like a one-time thing.
It wasn't ethereal. Yeah, so I get it. I didn't pay for an experience necessarily, like a one-time experience. I'm paying for something that I could experience over and over again, which there are games that I would go back to all the time because I have an affinity for them, or there's some nostalgia for them. But there's a lot of times I just, I purchase games in the moment that were like, this is good to have in case I feel like playing it someday, not necessarily because I wanted it, or I was feeling this compulsion to, like, if I don't buy this now, it's only going to go up in price later. So I just, get it while it's $10 versus when, in the future it'll be like $40 or whatever it is. So, stuff like that. But I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, yes, it's my hobby. Yes, I've got it under control now. Like, I haven't spent money on any of that stuff for a very long time, and I'm not having the DTs over it either. So it's kind of like they're all still here. I think I've kind of reached that sort of like that plateau where I can now, like, if I want to experience a new game, I'll buy it, or I'll wait till it's on loan from the library or something like that. But I don't feel the compulsion to have to now go out and buy like all the Nintendo games I can find or all the Sega games I could find. It's just like I've kind of scratched that itch, and I also like understand now like the weight and literal weight and responsibility, and the albatross of having all these games. It's kind of like, all right, well, I got to cart them around with me, or I got to make room for them or something, because otherwise, they're just going to sit in a crate.
Well, and taking a step back, paying for experiences also isn't bad. Whatever, like, we don't like to yuck people's yum, and, I people who buy sports jerseys and wear that to the game and go to the game, who look down at Comic-Con people who for dressing up, like Daredevil. It's like, dude, you're dressed up like a 23-year-old Dominican shortstop. You know what I mean? You're wearing his jersey and his hat. Like, how is that different than me dressing up as Thor when I go to a Comic-Con? It's not, it's different experiences, and it's the same thing. So you having those games, plus I'm going to take a little offense by this, Joe, because you're saying it's a waste, like the 100 episodes of this show where we did the random video game review, back in the day when we used to do it out of your old apartment. For newer listeners, when we started the podcast, we did it in person, and Joe would turn his back towards his bookshelves of videos. I would randomly go and pick a game off. He had to guess which game it was based on the empty slot, and then review the game, and then we would compare the game with one of the people who's written the Bibles on video games, and then Joe would guess what said value of the game is today, and then we would Google in real time and see how close he was. And that not only was the highlight of this podcast, of my life, the joy that collection brought, and then the joy that I would get participating, being in a Savas, or being somewhere where some yard sale where somebody has some games, and me FaceTiming Joe or taking pictures. It's like, do we need any of these?
Yep. Yeah. I know, it was of its time, and maybe I'm soured now because like everything's expensive, including old video games. So, I'm much more cynical as far as that goes. I don't know if you heard, but Nintendo in September, because of the world situation, have to raise the price, or are going to raise the prices of the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think the Nintendo Switch Lite or whatever, all the Switches out there are going up like $50. This is the first time in history, this year, the PlayStation 5 went up, $50 to $100 in price for their units. And the Switch is going to go up in September because of multiple things. One is like the stuff in the Middle East and the whatever, like there's a lot of the oil being impacted by that fiasco, and also the AI boom is driving this huge chip shortage for other electronics, so like that is gobbling up all the resources, so that it's more expensive for console makers to make their consoles, and is it worth them making all these consoles and to just sit on shelves? So everything's going the wrong way, and I'm I'm jaded about that.
But I don't understand why money is an issue, because you have a good job, you got your Doge check, you got your tariff checks. I mean, right? You got and
unfortunately, the checks are in the mail, and the mail has been.
Well, you know what? I mean, you should just get right on your Trump phone and make some calls and figure out how we can solve. Some of the.
I am delinquent on my Trump mobile payments. Yeah. So maybe that's why I'm not.
No, in the gaming thing for me, with the PS5, a little while ago, I thought I don't play games that much, but you know what? When I want to play, I want to play. And the fact that the little guy who's just turned 16 is not so little, it's such a pain in the ass to go get, the PS5 out of his room and bring it 2 flights down so I can play for a couple hours. I'm like, I'll just pick one. Wait a minute. It's more expensive now than the PS5s are more expensive than when I bought one. And if you go into a place and buy a used one, you can get a brand new used PS5 for what I paid to buy a new PS5 a couple years ago. The prices have not come down. So
I walked around a Best Buy this December with a PS5 bundle in my hand. Like just walking around, because I do that sometimes when I go shopping and I get the impulse thing. Like I'll pick it up, I'll carry it around with me, I'll mull over this decision, like, is it worth it? And then at the end, I ultimately decided, no, it's not worth picking up this console that A, I have literally no room for. B, I don't have any, there are no games on the console exclusively where I would want to then feed into this ecosystem. So I put it back. But had I done that, I would have gotten it cheaper back in December than I
Right.
do now. Yeah.
So the other reason I don't have time to play games as much because of the comedy. I'm editing more. I'm shooting more stuff finally. But also I'm gonna get a tad bit more involved in local politics, possibly.
Mm.
I went last week. I saw on Facebook a friend of management and mine said, "Hey, tonight is the budget reclamation." Like the school committee had a meeting about like budget cuts and other adjustments a couple weeks ago, and everybody was supposed to go home, do their homework, come back, and decide what they want to do with certain proposed cuts and other things. And the lady's like, "I can't go, but if somebody can go and let me know what happened, that'd be great." And they do. They have these things on cable access, but we don't have cable and all this stuff. So I went. First of all, the Lowell, Massachusetts, the City Hall is gorgeous. 150-plus-year-old brick building where they did not only did they not cut any corners, the corners in most of this building are round and exquisite and just beautiful, and it's great. And there's a balcony section, so I was sitting down, it's basically kind of like in a courtroom type thing. And there was people who were going to be speaking, and there was not a lot of space down there. So I'm going to go up and watch it from up there. And I just want to be a fly on the wall. Now that I've been substitute teaching a couple days a week, I know so much more. I love the schools. I'm also good friends with the superintendent. So I just was going to go and say hi. There was a guy. Well, first of all, there's 7 people on the school committee in Lowell. 2 of the 5 of them were no-shows for this meeting. And one guy was such a buffoon asshole. I could do a whole podcast on how infuriating this fuck was, where all he was doing was waiting for his Fox News gotcha moments.
Yeah.
Example, 2/3 of the meeting, he says, "Well, I don't understand why we have 22 student liaisons at the high school." And I wanted to yell down from the gallery, it is the biggest high school in Massachusetts, student population-wise. It is. Right now, there's like 70 more students there than at Brockton High School. And I'm like thinking, well, maybe that's why, you know what I mean? But before I yelled down, which I wasn't going to do, but I wanted to, the superintendent looked to the table to his right where the woman has all these binders with stats and whatever, and he has a very quizzical look. He goes, I think we have, and he looks at her, goes like, "There's 5 at the high school?" And she's like, "Yeah, there's 5. Well, now this guy, wherever he came up with the number 22, well, he was corrected politely that there's only 5. So the fact that he over exaggerated by a multiple of 5, you know what I mean? You figure, okay, well, that's enough. Now he's going to shut up. No, he doubled down on his ignorance and goes, "Well, I think that's still too many." Which, okay, yes, okay, fine. I'm with him. I agree. Maybe that's too many. But when his follow-up question is, what does a student liaison even do?
Oh my God.
Yes. Like that's what I witnessed. And then a few minutes later, he brings up something else in his gotcha moment. And the superintendent turns and he looks at the mayor who's sitting a platform behind him, like a raised, like it's almost like being,
right, like at the speaker,
right,
the State of the Union.
Exactly. And the mayor now leans forward and goes, "That was voted on last week." And then he looks to the woman who's kind of stenographer is like thing, goes, Can you correct me? He was here and voted last week, right? Yes. So he voted either yay or nay last week. Well, now he was taking the contrary opinions. Like, well, why did this get approved? Because you approved it, you dumb fuck, is what the mayor said. You ever watch like the English or the Irish House of Lords or Parliament,
Yes.
My fine constituent, Mr. Sir Lourenco of the great city of, Somerville, could you kindly remove your head from your arse, see that the sun is indeed shining, and that you don't need that umbrella inside. It was very akin to that. And that went on. So the meeting ends. I now got to go 4 floors down, which I don't mind taking the steps because I'm not as big a fat fuck. I still got 25 pounds to go, but it's also these gorgeous marble stairs, see, and the railings and the architecture to use the bathroom, which is right next to the old bank vault. Absolutely the size of a dump truck, like bank doors. It's a cool building. So I got to go to the bathroom now. I'm going to come up 2 flights of steps to go into the main chambers because I'm going to say hi to the superintendent, Liam. Well, this clown and another guy who I didn't see from my vantage point, who both wearing suits, they're coming down the steps that I'm going up. And the guy I couldn't see, who's coming down the steps with this buffoon, says, oh, we saw you up in the gallery. Are you a teacher? I said, I sub a little bit. And he goes, oh, are you a parent? I said, only when I have to be. And I keep walking. I don't want to talk to them, but I'm not going to be rude, and it's me, so I'm going to make a joke. They both laugh. And then the guys were right next to me. Goes like, so what do you think? It was I say flat out, it was fascinating. And I point to this clown, and I said, and he was amazing. I turn and I start to take a step, and this guy says to his friend, he goes, oh, he's a fan. And he kind of says to me, half joking, he goes, oh, do you want his autograph? I turn around, and as calmly as I can see, and only the F&H guys will understand, I channeled my friend John Taylor. And as polite as I could, I said, you know, the term amazing isn't always used complimentary. And you could feel
a chill filled the room.
I take 2 steps, I turn back, and I say, and I point right at him, I said, but we're going to be crossing paths a whole lot over the next couple of years. And I started.
Did you, when you left, did you say, gentlemen, remember, I have a lot of free time?
I get back to the chamber. Well, as I'm walking up the steps, I can hear at least a 2 or 3 count before they start walking again. They truly, like, their brains just forgot how to make their legs move and keep walking. They were truly not expecting to be politely told to go fuck yourself any more cordially. You can't possibly do it. So I end up going and seeing the superintendent. We're talking for a second, and his assistant basically needs him to do a bunch of post-meeting stuff. So he's like, he goes, hey, I know you're leaving town soon. Are you around tomorrow morning or Friday, to get breakfast? I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. Because, management was still on the other side of the world. So the next morning I sat with the superintendent of Lowell Public Schools for 2 hours, 101, little coffee shop, just going over my experiences in the 11 different schools I've been in, what I really like, what I don't understand. Like, every school, how they handle food waste is different, and some are ahead of the curve. So the state subsidizes lots of lunches. So as a kid's going through the lunch line, here's your lunch. And they legally have to put a vegetable on your plate. They have to put a piece of fruit on your plate. Here's your milk. Great. I am surprised how much of the fruit gets eaten, and I'm happy to see that. And
it's sweet.
Da-da-da.
No, I'm serious. It's a sweet food.
Oh yeah,
like fruit. Yes, vegetables. I could see those like being. There could be a vegetable pile at the door. Throw your vegetables here, children.
Which they should do and compost it. But there's lots of schools. There's some schools that, like, the kids don't open the sandwich. You can't leave the calf with it. Well, now some schools make sure all of this goes home at the end of the day, the end of the week with certain kids. There's certain programs to do this. And that is awesome. But there's some schools that they just throw it away. And I physically can't do that. I physically can't. And there's some schools I'm like, kids like, oh, take it back to the class. And a teacher would be like, oh, no, they can't. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to take it back to the class. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I guess, because I'm not physically imposing, but I do look like I know where some body parts have been buried, maybe not the whole body. So people don't question me very often. And then some schools are like, great, but with the milk. So as the kids go out, they put their 4-digit code into the pad, as they're checking basically out. So this is how the school knows how much to bill the state for per kid student lunch type program. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Well, if they don't drink the milk and you return the milk, there's no apparatus to take that off of what you built the state for. So somebody can turn around and say it's fraud. Okay, I see that. But why do we have to throw it away? The milk isn't opened. Can we put and the answer is yes, because some schools have these shelves outside the cafeteria where food goes. Come and get it. You want your snack time, you want to bring it home. Like I said, some schools bag it up. And at the end of the day, there's some schools that have a list of the kids who you send them down to the caf on their way to the bus to get food to bring home, which it should be streamlined, or it should be every school should do that, but the actual, oh, no, we can't return the milk. It has to be thrown out. Otherwise, we're double dipping in the state, the nickel that this milk costs the state, blah, blah, blah. But I can't physically throw food out. But also, I talked to the superintendent. I'm like,
Homer Simpson also couldn't throw a sandwich out. And he paid the price dearly for it. But, he tried to throw it away, but then he couldn't stay mad at the sandwich, even though it gave him, a great illness.
But if I eat myself, if I am a donut, I eat myself. But he, but I also,
then yes, superintendent.
I told him, I said, we'd like to do something about that. But I said, I'm in these classrooms, and I'm not being sexist because I've yet to be a para or an assistant in a room with a male teacher. There's very few and far between. But I am in these rooms with a lot of great young gals. My niece's age, 24 to 30, 24, 23, 22, like 27, 28. The number of them that I've got to work with who are really struggling, they're a year or two out of college. They love their job. They work the after-school program because it's an extra hour and a half a day they get paid on their way to their second job. Or they have a weekend job. And in the state of Massachusetts, you have to have a master's degree to be a full-fledged teacher in the union, all the benefits of being in the union and all that stuff. You have to have a master's degree in the state of Massachusetts. And you have a certain window in which you're required to get it, to do that. So these amazing people are struggling, most living at home, most living in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates so that they can pay off college and start saving, trying to get into grad school, which by the time they get their master's degree, they will have been doing the job for 8 years they need their master's degree for.
Yes.
And there's no, but I said to him, and this is a fact. Here's the thing. School committee is, for the most part, the lowest barrier of entry into politics. It is the cheapest one to obtain. Like, a couple yard signs and this and that, the other thing. Bigger cities, more blah, blah, blah. But also it's where you get your experience. So you do city council, or you do school committee for 2 years, 4 years, before you run for city council, before you run for mayor. It's not the job you want. You didn't take the job in the restaurant to be the dishwasher. You want to be the head chef. But this is your way into that restaurant type thing. And if that is what you want to be, the chef, and you're going to school at night and you're working and you figure out how to get a rat to be under your hat and make all the decisions for you on the spices, great. But right now you're the dishwasher. Fucking wash the dishes really well. Do a really good job at washing those dishes, so that when the world-class chef puts the food on the plate, it's not a dirty plate, and then the people don't eat the world-class food because there was crud on this plate that didn't get washed off. You are an important part of that plate being served at the fine restaurant as a dishwasher, and that's what your role on school committee is. You might not want to be, but this is where you are now. Do the best job you can, because these constituents are the same constituents you're representing as mayor of the town. And I said to Liam, I said, I'm not running. It's not my thing. It's not my bag, baby. I'm not going to be here enough to do it. I'm going to be here enough to do fundraisers for said person, to campaign for said person, to canvas for said person, to use my social media skills, my editing skills, my production skills for said person. I said, these classrooms have these great young people who want to be doing this. This is what we have to find. People who don't have to have a kid in the school. I don't have it's like, yes, my kid's in high school. He's a good place. I love working in elementary schools. I love helping out these kids. I love what I get to do a couple days a week, although it's hard. It's challenging. I walk out exhausted sometimes. I'm starting to really fall in love with so many of these educators who truly, even once they get that master's degree, there is no way to ever get out from under. Yeah, they will never make enough to they won't be buying houses ever, because they're choosing to get a master's degree instead, so that they can get that master's degree so they can do the job they've already been doing for 7 or 8 years at that point. So I mean, as much as I try not to talk about, hey, let's not talk about Trump dropping his lawsuit for $10 billion for the IRS in exchange for they giving him $1.7 billion, which is a very specific number, so that he can then start a fund to give to the people wrongfully prosecuted by Joe Biden, mainly being the January 6th people. So I don't want to talk about that because I can't do anything about that. I can do something about this. And I can do something about this today, not next week, not next year. So I've reached out. So Liam put me in contact with a couple school entities that I didn't know exist. 501c3s that start programs. This junior high has a great theater and music program. This one doesn't have one at all. There's no space in the school. It's in a part of town, blah, blah, blah. So they have an after school program that they four-wall somewhere else for the kids to bus, but it's paid separately by this organization. So I'm getting involved with organizations like that. And he put me in contact, and I've had phone calls with a few of these organizations, putting my skills out there, saying, this is what I do. And I am all in. So let's find a candidate who's young. I'm not ageist. You could have somebody like me in there. You don't have to be a young, but I want to get somebody who might be in there for 10, 20 years, who also is 6, 8 years removed from Lowell High School.
Yeah.
Not 40 years removed from Lowell High School type thing. At the same time, management and I went to see Ed Markey speak in Lowell just yesterday.
Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey?
Yeah, we saw Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts Senator. We saw her March 18th. We saw Ed
Who opened for her?
The same person. Lori Trahan, who is the Merrimack, Middlesex County's Congresswoman.
Oh, okay.
So, Congresswoman Lori Lori Trahan,
the representative.
Yep. Yeah. So she's great, and it's funny because when she got introduced, she came into the class of 2018, which was the most number of women in one class entering the House of Representatives. It's a big round of applause, including from my management. And then I leaned over and I said, that includes Lori Brobart and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And my wife's like, oh. Oh. So yes, you applaud that more women got into politics that year.
Yes, but look at some of those women.
Maybe another old white guy wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world in that case, But anyways, but I'm getting more involved. And so I talked to a couple other reps because the state rep from Wilmington Tewksbury, also spoke. The state rep from our district spoke, and I talked to a couple people afterwards, and I'm like, hey, these are interesting. This was I'm now getting involved in this. If you want to talk about other stuff. So I did. I talked to Marky's people for a while, and I said, hey, I'm not the world's greatest editor, but my friend Woody is, and he's trying to get involved with a couple political campaigns in Jersey. I said, I'm happy to, consult, jump in, Ed's up for re-election, happy to more than just say I'm going to vote, I'm going to get more involved in the stuff that I can control locally and this, but especially with the school committee, because I walked out of there pissed. I did. I walked out of there, really, really upset and want to do something because I'm in these schools and, getting back to the guy who had the got you questions at one point, now he's really going to hold Liam Skinner to the coals and says, well, maybe we should be making cuts downtown. And Liam held up a stack of paper because that's awesome. Here is the budget. We, for the last 6 years, have had the smallest staff downtown in the history of public schools in Lowell. We have not hired a new person in 6 years, which means when somebody leaves because they're starting a family, because they move, because they retire, we have not replaced them. And in fact, the person who left 18 months ago that we desperately need to fill, I forget the name of the position, but this person oversees the department of English learners in our school. Now, as somebody who's lived here for 9 years, I know there's a high percentage of kids in our school who don't speak English. My son's best friend who just moved back to Brazil, he got here in the 2nd grade. He was the only one in the house who went to public school, and he entered public school speaking 0 English. And in the 6 years his family lived here, collectively they learned 0 English in the house. He became an A student, So that's what our teachers are dealing with. Now, it's not just Portuguese, it's not just Spanish, it's not just Khmer from the Bonin community. I don't know the number of students, but Joe, I think I've already told you this. How many different languages are being spoken by people trying to learn English in our schools as they're being taught? The number of different languages.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something really low, but I think it's not like close to like 80 or 100 or something like that.
It was like everybody else thought, oh God, it's low, maybe 15, maybe 20. Yeah, it's 70. And I'm in a class. So it is more likely I'm in a class where nobody looks like me than there's more than 20% of the kids who are white identifying. But it is very rare. I mean, incredibly rare that I'm in a class, whether it's a pre-K, a special need class, or a 4th grade class, where there aren't there's more kids in that room who are English learners than there are kids who look like me. And those are the challenges that Lowell steps up to the plate and deals with every day. And this buffoon is trying to cut those, so like I said, and the other reason I really like this guy, Liam Skinner. He was a principal at a school when we moved to this town. Like, I just can't imagine the hell. But he is from Ireland. he supports Arsenal Football, the team out of London, which is one of the teams that I follow because they have two players on the team I really, really like. A guy named Saka, Saka, and Declan Rice, which is is Declan the most Irish name?
It's up there.
And so we will email back and forth over, Arsenal Football, which anyways, that's a perfect time to get into sport. We are going to talk exclusively for the next few minutes English football, and here's what's going on. Very controversial this week. Now, the way sports work over there, we know about relegation. The bottom three teams of the league drop down. So, in baseball terms, the worst three teams in the MLB next year will be AAA, and the best three teams in AAA will be in MLB. That's how relegation works. There's there's promotion and there's relegation,
demotion. Yep.
And and now there's also no playoffs. So whoever is the best team at the end of the season, you won the championship. That's how it works. With the exception of like the Champions League and World Cup and stuff like that. But the independent leagues, that's how they work. They have the FA Cup, which is a playoff series, but so there's 38 games and the Premier League thing. And Arsenal has been leading the league the whole year. Man City is right on their tails. Man City beat Arsenal a couple weeks ago, which meant in their last 4 games, had Arsenal won all their games in Man City would have caught them in the 9th hour, and just won the league. At the same time, a team that we follow, meaning me and this podcast, because our friend Dave LaPointe from Complaints and Observation, who's come on this podcast, is a West Ham fan. People in this country would only know West Ham because that is the team that the bad guy and Ted Lasso bought that actually is a real team. So all the other teams in Ted Lasso are real teams. So West Ham is on the relegation bubble. Last week, in the 90th minute, West Ham scores a goal to make it 1-1 against Arsenal. That goal would have meant Arsenal only gets 1 point for a tie, not 3 points for a win. Ergo, making Manchester City the leader of the Premier League, which is 2 games left. It's that, but they go to instant replay, and over there it's called VAR. And it's just like the NFL. It's not done in the stadium, so nobody can riot in the stadium and bust into the control booth. It's done as a command center on the other side of the country. Now, the goal was disallowed. You can argue whether the goal should be disallowed or not. That you can make a legit argument for whether the goal should have been disallowed or kept in. And it's split 60-40, maybe 70-30. It should have been disallowed. However, the law says VAR has to be instantly conclusive. Like somebody was in the ref's line of sight. Somebody was in the lineman's line of sight, so they couldn't see if it was offsides or not. And it has to be clear. Oh, yes, this is definitely a penalty. No Zapruder filming.
Yes.
No holding a committee. And the fact that it took over 9 minutes to make the ruling. So you're talking a 90-minute, football game. And it took 10% of that time to play the entire game to make this ruling. And here's why it's such a controversial rule. That rule essentially awards 3 weeks in advance the title to Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the difference. That 1 point is the difference between West Ham now being relegated or staying in the Premier League. That ruling alone impacts billions of dollars. That absolutely, when you get relegated, it often destroys a franchise. It takes decade on average for a team that's been relegated to come back in. So if the Red Sox got relegated this year, if they were the worst team in baseball, Well, because they now don't have that TV money coming in, they're going to lose most of their good players, because they can't afford their players anymore. And their players will still, you can understand. I mean, everybody who listens to this podcast is smart enough to realize, well, they're smart enough to listen to this, but that ruling absolutely is the most consequential VAR ruling in the history of the Premier League, because it, on one hand, awards one team a championship that it maybe shouldn't. On the other hand, it relegates a team that it shouldn't. It destroys the West Ham that's been in the Premier League for like 25 years, and it gives Arsenal its first champion in 22 years. And at the same time, in the Scottish Premier League, only 2 teams have won the championship in the last 41 years. There's 2 teams who have won the championship in the Scottish Premier League the last 41 years. And in the second to last game, a very controversial call, there's a team that was on the precipice for the first time of either the Yankees or the Red Sox not winning type thing. And a very controversial call went against that team. And again, the time frame, it's 50-50 whether the right call was made, but it took so long to make the call that it violates its own rule of being clear and instant.
Yeah.
And if you have to look at it from 91 angles,
yeah,
and a committee has to get together and decide if this was offsides, if this was a handball, if this was, a foul, if this was whatever. So again, it's like, it is helping sports. At the same time, you want the right team to win, but at the same time, it's like, and then all these contract providers who do these funny clips of like, the ref on the field and they superimpose themselves and they're talking to the guy in VAR room. It's like, oh, you got to look closer. It's like, no, there's no handball. It's like, no, you got to look close. Look at the jersey. It's like, yeah, I don't see. Oh, and the other guy's like, oh, and then it zooms in on the team's logo. Like, oh, yeah. Right, okay. All right. Of course it was Arsenal. So yes, it is no goal. It's like, oh man, it's, well, that's just on sports. I would also be remiss. I should have talked about this at the front. Management is back from the Ukraine. We talked about it a month ago. My wife had found a group in London, a nonprofit in London that drives donated cars from London to Lviv, LVIV, which is about 400 kilometers away from Kiev, where the front line of the Ukraine invasion from Russia is happening. And then a Ukrainian drives a car from Lviv to Kyiv because they don't have cars here. They haven't been repossessed. They've been bombed into oblivion. And so wife drove. She got stranded in London an extra 2 days on the front end of the trip because the first 2 cars broke down on the way being transported to her. One had a gas leak and one, and she ended up driving a Hyundai Santa Fe, which is what I have, but it was a Standard, which she can drive a Standard, except the steering wheel is on the right side of the right. No, and I don't mean the correct side. I mean it's on the not the left side. Yes. So, and she drove with a she
has to use the shift. She has to use the gear shift with her left hand.
So,
which is what I call the stranger.
Yep. I offered, hey, if you want to practice, get ready before you go. Yeah, because I was willing to contribute about in the same way and about the same level I did of having our children. You do all the work, but yeah, then she worked at a dog shelter out there for, again, displaced dogs from Kiev. Somebody had donated a couple acres of land, but it's in the far side of the city, no electricity. So these, they're insulated, kennels that these dogs are in. And, but like when she has to go there to do the nighttime feeding, you walk with a flashlight a quarter mile into the woods to pump the water and with the metal buckets and then walk them back to the kennels and stuff. So it wasn't, I'm going down to the MSPCA and this nice kennel and stuff. It was real hard work, and she is trying to figure out how she can get back and do more because the people there were so amazing. And she became friends with a couple older Americans, people who didn't know each other. One's like in their late 70s, one's in the early 80s, who retired. And this is what they're doing, their final chapter. Like, you know what? I can be here, and I'm going to be here. So so she got back. It was a great experience. It was, and again, like,
great.
I'm going to help out with school committee because I can't do anything about Trump taking money from the IRS, but I can do something about this. It's like, she can't stop what's happening in Gaza or the Ukraine, but, she had the time off for work and she was able to go and do this, and she got donated stuff to bring to the dog. So,
it's all great news.
But now this is where Joe steps up to the plate and ends the podcast with a parenting tip for the horrible parents out there just hearkening on the advice from such a sage, learned, successful parent. Go ahead.
I will do no such thing. I will instead talk about what I watched on TV. So
fair enough.
Yeah. Watched I like I got you into this, the Fall and Rise of Reggie Dinkins on
So good.
Peacock NBC. It's Tracy Morgan and Daniel Radcliffe. It's about a disgraced football player, NFL player, who is then approached by Daniel Radcliffe's character, who is a British documentarian who wants to basically film him and his family life to document his comeback. And it's written by the same people who made like 30 Rock and Kimmy Schmidt. It's executive produced by Tina Fey. And yes, every episode is full of just like great one after another, joke after joke after joke. Bobby Moynihan is really funny in it.
He's great.
So it's 10 episodes right now, I think, this season. So I'd say if you have Peacock, give it a watch. It's cool. I'm also in the retro watching stuff. I'm watching my old game shows. Don't worry. I didn't go completely off the rails. Yeah, I didn't abandon both video games and game shows. That would be crazy. But what I did do is I supplemented or replaced the video game playing with watching old Siskel and Ebert shows. I'm in a Siskel and Ebert rabbit hole, if you will. So there's somebody put together a playlist of like every, uploaded Siskel and Ebert show from like back to like 76 when they were on PBS. And then
local out of Chicago then, right?
Local out of Chicago called At the Movies, or something like that. I already forgot. And opening soon at a theater near you. That's what it's called. Then they went on PBS as sneak previews, and then syndication as Siskel and Ebert. But there's just a bunch of great episodes. I was watching the best of whatever year, the worst of whatever year. And it actually inspired me to then finally break the 30-year curse of me never having seen the movie Fargo, which I watched for the first time last night.
I am cooperating.
Yeah, I'm answering your question.
Would that be your partner there in the wood chipper?
Was it worth it? Yeah, it's a very good movie. It's a very good movie. After decades of hearing references to the movie, it kind of softened the impact a little bit. I knew about the wood chipper, yes, all that stuff there. And the wood chipper, apparently, I found out that it's in like some museum in Fargo. It's but no, it's a very, very tidy movie, very great movie. I'm glad I got to see it before I went blind or deaf.
Did she win an Academy Award for that?
Frances McDormand? I'm not sure. I don't know.
How she toggles between like the wood chipper and being so supportive for her husband coming in second place with this bird painting, like the sweet and kindness,
Right.
like the range of who that person is.
Yeah. And then there's a little factoid like that. I didn't pick up when I was watching it, but every scene that she has, Frances McDormand's character has with her husband is either sitting down in bed or eating. Like that. That's all that they do together on screen. Yeah, it's a great movie, and Steve Buscemi, of course. And yeah, I'm talking about Fargo, the movie, like it's something that is you can go to the theaters and watch now. No, I'm catching up. All right, I'm carving out some time, some quality time to watch some actual movies.
Well, you do have time. You do have more time than you think now because High Potential, which is one of the shows that Joe's family watches. Him as his manager. You watch that together with management, right?
I glance at it. She watches it.
That's
more
her
frequently.
show. Okay, yeah. It's one of the few shows I watch with management. Just got pushed back to 2027.
Oh wow!
It ends the season on a cliffhanger. It was a half season. Like they've been doing that, with shows for a while now. The front half of the, they take the summer break. And I get it. You know what I mean? Type thing. Yeah, it just got pushed back to 2027. So I won't be watching that for a while. And it's like, dude.
Wow. I
mean, I did watch. I'm sorry. I interrupted. Were you done with what you're watching, sir?
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching Siskel and Ebert. I give Siskel and Ebert 2 thumbs up.
You know what? If I had not given you the opportunity to make that reference, I would have ruined podcasting forever. Well done, sir. Take a skate around. I watched the latest season of Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. Again, a little bit of a heart watch because it's a little too. A lot of people like me not loving the ending only because it's great. It's great, but it's not the ending I want it. Also, Maul, like the new 10 episode
Shadow Lord or something.
Yeah,
Shadow of Maul. What's it called?
I think it's Shadow Lord.
Shadow Lord. Yeah.
And it takes place
Star Wars, by the way. Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
But it is fantastic. I mean, how vast that universe is. You never hear the name Skywalker. You know what I mean, or any of that stuff. It takes place before A New Hope. It takes place in. Anyways, it is. It is It is absolutely fantastic. But I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to brag. And I would have completely forgotten this. Except Joe watched Fargo, and he mentioned the great Steve Buscemi, who's
hello, fellow children,
whose ravishing good looks landed him a cameo in what was the last 2 weeks' #1 movie on Netflix, a movie called Roommates.
Oh, with Adam Sandler's production company, yes.
Yep, which stars Sadie Sandler and Sarah Sherman from Saturday Night Live.
I was watching a bunch of her videos, all of her calling Joe's desk pieces, like just back to back to back yesterday, just because I wanted to be happy. She is a delight. And also, did you see you didn't see the Will Ferrell episode? Okay, there's a fun little sketch with her in there.
I've got to meet her several times. Joe's got to meet her once. She is fantastic.
Meet whom?
Didn't you? Oh,
No. I didn't meet Sarah Sherman, but I did meet somebody else.
No, right. No, I was thinking Sarah Sherman. My sons met her when we went down to the set of Roommates.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When my sons met Adam Sandler, who was just so kind to them. I mean, he doesn't have a reputation of being a good guy. It was surprising. It was really nice. I've told the story, so I won't tell it again on it. But it was really great when I told him to fuck off, and my sons were horrified, and he started laughing. But it was nice. But yeah, that my cousin and his writing partner Kira Sullivan wrote it, and it was
Your
number
cousin
one.
Jimmy Fowley.
My cousin Jimmy Fowley. I went to his dad's house. It came out 2 Fridays ago. My oldest son, and I went to his dad's house to watch it with him and his older sister, and it was great. It's a fun movie. It really is. I did. I'm not saying that. My cousin put himself in it. It was a cameo, which was a very, very fun one. Adam Sandler has a cameo in it that is a very fun one. But Steve Buscemi has an actual talking role, kind of funny thing, in like unexpected place in the movie, and it's like, oh, he's great. He is really good. But it's Roommates on Netflix. It is very good. It is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so now, do you have a parenting tip?
I do not. I think Biff has a parenting tip. So, Biff, what's your parenting tip? Right. Yep. Yeah. No, I don't. Oh, Biff. Man, you said it all. In fact, I think you've said too much. Well, I can't sum it up any better than Biff had. So, what Jacques obviously is at a loss for words because of Biff's drop the mic parenting tip. He dropped the mic so much he probably couldn't even hear him, but I did. And trust me, it's a sage advice from a wise man. Anyway, that wraps up this extra long, super sized version of this stupid podcast. But it's been about a month since I think we last had an actual 1-on-1, 3-on-3, whatever you want to call it, not a non-sideshow Carnival Personnel episode. So, but Jacques been busy. I've been lazy. Biff's been avoiding us. Things get in the way. But it's always good to talk to my friend Jacques. Is it? Yeah, and we have fun here. Despite what you might not be having fun listening, but we have fun talking, and that's all that matters, really. So, tune in next week for Jacques doing a sideshow without Biff or myself, because that's what our contracts stipulate. So, all of those fun one-on-one interviews with comedians, that's Jacques' bag. That's his world. I'm just lucky to be invited to a couple of shows every now and then, throwing me some scraps, dragging me out of my home, out of my cage, if you will. And, if this is the last podcast we do before you go out to LA, then, so be it. It's, going to be a long summer, but you know what? I think technology will let us do more podcasts while you're in LA, and we can hear about all of your fun exploits. And, you and Biff can get together in person. And, are you taking the mixer with you? Probably not. Don't do that. Don't take the mixer. Right? You're not going to take the mixer. He's not taking the mixer. He's giving me the thumbs down. Nope. And he's also putting up like a gang sign. I don't know what that is. But I think that's a wrap for this episode. So thanks for listening to Carnival Personnel. We love you, whomever you are. Yes, even you, baby Hitler. We love you. Why would baby Hitler be listening to this? Who is baby Hitler? Like, I wouldn't, because you can't have that name anymore. I think it's illegal in the world to have the name Hitler, which is, I think, a good move. It's kind of like when you go to the DMV, you can't get like a swear word on your license plate. There's certain restrictions, right? You can't name your kid certain things, which is good. So yes, no Hitler. I think Hitler first or last or middle name, completely verboten, as it were. I probably should stop saying Hitler because that's probably not the algo. If you're listening to this on a device, you probably don't want that name coming out of your speakers or headphones too much. The name being Hitler. That's you're despicable. Hey, you know what? We say Trump every day. Why not? Let's mix it up, baby. We say all sorts of despicable, rotten things nowadays. No, I'm rambling now. Editor, edit all of this out. And now we'll, Biff, do you have anything you want to chime in with? Oh my God. Whew. Oh my God. Yeah. No, yeah, I know those people probably shouldn't have rights. I understand. I'm with you. Okay, man. All right. Yes, I agree. But actually, you know what? That's your opinion. You're free to speak your mind however you want. Actually, no. You know what? I'm not going to tolerate that, because hate speech is not free speech. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you make a good point. Maybe hate speech is free speech, when you think about it. I don't know. I am, maybe I'm easily swayed, but I'm starting to see your point of view. Maybe he did have a lot of good ideas. Okay. By the way, there is no Biff. I'm just pausing and pretending that there's a Biff. There's really no Biff off, like on a mic that only I can hear, that you're hearing a one-sided Bob Newhart-esque conversation. Yes. And it's 3 strikes and you're out. And 3 balls. Not 3 balls. 4 balls. Why 4 balls, Mr. Doubleday? Nobody's ever asked you that before. Okay. Mrs. Lincoln, why don't you take no, hey Abe, I blew a fucking line. God damn it. Hey, Abe, why don't you take in a play? I have derailed once again. Too bad. All right, that's enough out of me. Don't forget.
Doors never close, little head never stops. Naked little no man with a whisper in his balls. Can you see that I'm afraid to ask your name? Kill myself just to prove to you. Now little girl who looks a lot like you. Can you see that I'm afraid to break this shell? Pretty girl, you cry the gate that leads to hell. Eyes never close, my little head never stops. Naked little no man,
dedicated to Joe Mazza. Has a radio show on 5:10 a.m. Coast to coast all across the country. That's Joe Mazza.
What kind of show is that?
Oh, so Joe Mazza?
Joe Mazza?
Joe Mazza. He'll talk to you about trading cards, antique cars, the 80s situation. 5:10, 3 a.m. on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. Joe Mazza, coast all across the country.
Oh, and who's this? Morgan something or other?
Yes, that's Morgan.
Okay.
You got it.
And
Trading cards, antique cars, and Haiti. You got a question about anything? Call us.
This is a song about a Prozac outpatient who's a friend of ours.
Wonderful woman.
Yeah, a wonderful woman. All right. In a Gata da Vida. No, let's play Pepsi first.